If you're ready to buy your next home and move up this spring or summer, I just wanted to let you know that there's going to be a lot of competition, especially in the Northern Virginia market, because I just attended a meeting where some realtors told me that the market is really heating up with regards to buyers. There's a lot of buyers out there and the competition is going to be pretty stiff. But today's video is all about how to get your offer selected, even if you're not the highest bidder on a property. So, first things first, let's talk about seller psychology. If a seller has an offer in hand, or let's say they have 3 or 5 or 10, the first thing that they're asking themselves is who's most likely to close on the loan. So when you put your offer in, the more contingencies you have, and a contingency is just a way for you to get out of the deal, right? The more contingencies that you have, the less likely your offer is to be accepted. So, in other words, let's say you have a house that's $800,000. One offer is $810,000, but they have a bunch of contingencies on there that requires a person, for example, to sell their current home before buying that home. The second offer is just $800,000, but it doesn't have any of those contingencies, and they can close in 21 days. Well, which offer is most likely to be accepted? That's right, the lower offer. So there are 3 financing contingencies that I'm going to talk about in today's video. Again, this is for move up buyers. The first one is the buy before you sell, or the sell, before you buy contingency. The second one is the financing contingency, and the third one is the appraisal contingency. And then I'm also going to answer the question, but Cherie, how do I protect my earnest money deposit? How do I protect myself from losing all of my money as well? Fair question. So we're going to get to that. Okay, so the 3 contingencies from a financial point of view that you are able to look at removing in order to make yourself competitive. The first is I have to sell this house before I can buy your new house or my new house. We have a program that allows you to remove that contingency, because sometimes what happens is your financial picture, which is not a bad financial picture, but your financial picture doesn't allow you to hold both mortgages from a nationwide underwriting guideline point of view. But again, we have an internal program that you're able to use in order to remove that contingency. The second contingency is the financing contingency. The financing contingency just says, hey, if I can't get approved for this loan, then I can back out of the deal. So what we do is something called a fully underwritten pre-approval in order to remove that contingency. That means, now, you want to use this if you have stable income, your job stability is fine, things like that, right? But what we're able to do is, before you put the offer on the property, we're able to send your file to the underwriter for review, and for that underwriter to say, yes, from a financial point of view, this buyer or this couple are able to actually afford a house that is $800,000, for example. So we're able to then say you have a fully underwritten pre-approval, which then can remove that financing contingency. The third contingency that we are looking at is the appraisal contingency. And it's not that you're not going to have an appraisal done at all, because you are. But what we're able to do is we're able to say no matter what that appraisal says with regards to the value of the property, you can still buy that property. So there are times, for example, let's say that you are buying this house or you have the offer in for $800,000. If the appraisal comes back at $790,000, then we would get nervous in some circumstances because, like, hey, there's a gap with regards to the value. Well, there are ways for us, we have an internal program, there are ways for us to remove that appraisal contingency. So The final thing that you may be asking is like, hey, Cherie, I still want to protect myself. I want to protect my earnest money deposit. I don't want to lose a lot of money. If I get into a deal, I have an offer, and then something happens. Well, there are other contingencies that you are going to have within your offer. And one of them, for example, is your house inspection contingency. So you can talk to your realtor about it. It's usually, I think, about 10 days that you have the right and the ability to have an inspector go in and look at the roof, look at the water heater, look at, other things in order to make sure that you are protected from the housing point of view. I would also suggest that you talk to your realtor about any other contingencies that they have in your local area to make sure that your earnest money deposit is protected. So, if you want to talk more about this, I'm Cherie. You can DM or contact me. My contact information is below in the description. Let's have a conversation with regards to what your options are, because the truth is, when you're looking for a home, it's very stressful. You're looking at tons of houses on Zillow, you're going to tons of open houses and doing all sorts of housing tours. You find the house. What we don't want to happen is you lose on that house because you don't have certain things in place in advance, and it's a very competitive situation. So that's it for me. God bless you, and I hope you have a blessed day.